Hey, this is Matt, and I felt like talking about memory reconsolidation today. So, the idea behind memory reconsolidation is that our learnings, our deep learnings, the things that cause us to act, behave, feel in the world, are based on deep emotional resonances based on needs that are not met or met in the world, and grouping these experiences into buckets we call beliefs. So this might work where we have some deep need to be loved or accepted, and then we learn that we have this experience where we're late and an authority figure rejects us because of it. And then we develop this belief based on that memory where, being late causes me to be rejected. And there's this emotional feeling of sadness from that rejection. And then later in life, we may find that lack of planning causes us to be late. And so then we have this chain of beliefs where if I don't plan, then I'll be late and I'll be rejected. And so we have bodily feelings related to this. We have the memories associated with this. We have the logical belief and chain of beliefs. And then we can also create metaphors and stories. So we may associate being late with this black hole and us being sucked into this black hole as we get further and further without planning. And these four elements, the memories, the logical beliefs, the bodily sensations, and the metaphors can all be used to access and update how we navigate the world, how we feel about things, our beliefs about the world. But we can't just will ourselves into changing them as much as and as good as that would be. Just like we learn them by deeply feeling and expressing an emotion and having an experience, we need to access and deeply feel that emotion again, be in a situation where we would feel that emotion and notice how it's not good for us while we're feeling it. Okay? That's and then the final step of memory reconsolidation, once accessing, noticing how it's not good for us, is learning the update, learning, okay, what would be good for us in this situation. That's memory reconsolidation. Why and how do you take control of it is that often we have internal beliefs that we are uneasy with, that we notice are not good for us, that we find are not helpful for us. And because of this, we develop what's called internal conflicts, where we have some parts of us that want something, and some parts of us that don't want to react in that way, and it creates even worse feelings because of this conflict. So we can use conscious and deliberate memory reconsolidation to deal with these instances where it seems like, well, hey, maybe this internal belief I have is not quite right. But again, we can't just will ourselves, nor should we. We use memory reconsolidation technologies to do so. So, when I'm working with memory reconsolidation, I like to ask myself, okay, what's most salient for me with this thing? So, I find that I'm getting really anxious when it comes to a test. And I want to now look at, okay, I'm going to explore this a bit. I'm going to introspect on it. What's coming up for me? Is it memories? Is it some logical belief? Is it just this bodily sensation? Or is it some metaphor that makes a lot of sense to me? Okay, all of these are valid ways to approach, enter, dive into the experience of the thing, such that we can begin the reconsolidation. But I don't try to specifically make any of those. I just see what's coming up for me and let it come up. Okay, that's just step one. I'm just diving into it, seeing what comes up for me. Okay, once I do that, I'm going to go through what's called the Reconsolidation hierarchy. So this is something I created to figure out, okay, what are the most likely ways to reconsolidate this memory. And what we find is that the things that are most in tune with the memory, the things that least push against the memory, feeling, metaphor, whatever it is, are the things that are most likely to lead to reconsolidation. But also, if they're most in tune, they're the ones that are least going to question that memory. So there's this trade-off here. We start with the things that least push against, and then we push against more and more and more as we go through the hierarchy. So the way to start with this is to just literally feel and express. Feel and express. Step 1. Okay? So if it's memories, I'm going to just dive into the memories. Feel and express what I'm feeling from one of those memories. So if I'm dealing with... What am I dealing with right now? Let's say I'm dealing with this thing in my chest, and I'm just want to, instead of ignoring or going away from it, I'm just going to go into it. Okay, this is the bodily sensation, and I'm just stopping suppressing anything of it. I'm just going into it, and I'm expressing in words, I'm expressing with my voice, I'm expressing with my facial expressions, my movements, the way I'm holding and carrying myself. What's going on there? I'm just letting myself do that, and sometimes just doing this can unlock something, because you haven't really fully understood it until you've let yourself get to this point. And I'm sort of on the verge of tearing up here, and I'm noticing just, there's a lot going on here. Sometimes just this can do it. Now, if it's a belief that I'm dealing with, I want to get to what's called the deeper cut, right? So we talked about how being late could make me rejected, would mean that I'm unloved, but not planning can mean I'm late. So if I'm dealing with the idea of not planning can mean I'm late, I'm not really getting to the deeper cut. I want to get to that sense of, okay, not planning means I'll be rejected, means I could be unloved. And say that aloud a few times and see what comes up for me. Not planning means I could be unloved. Not planning means I could be unloved. I could be unloved if I don't plan. What comes up for me when I say that deeper cut? How does that feel? Sometimes, again, just reaccessing this memory can allow us to reinterpret it. Can allow us to say, is that really true? Without even doing anything else. Now, if it's a metaphor, I might do something like focusing, where I'm trying on different metaphors. I'm trying on different parts of the metaphor. Well, there's this tension in my back, and it's like this sort of dark little knot. It's pulling on all parts of me, on all parts of my body, on my legs, my arms. It's like a marionette. It's like I'm a marionette, and the controller is trying to, honestly, just trying to make me fit in, right? So there's this marionette that's controlling me to make me fit in. Meanwhile, the puppet itself is just trying to fight back. Now I can keep going with this metaphor and trying things on and trying on different parts until I see what really works and what really makes sense, and can I really understand this? And sometimes in the understanding I realize that it can be tweaked and changed and that it's not quite right. And you can also do this with, what am I missing? With memories. You can jump into memories and really remember the memories and how you feel, and go through them over and look at them from different angles, from inside, from outside. And sometimes that's just enough. Just re-looking at the memories can allow you to reinterpret them. That's the first level of memory reconsolidation. The second level would be when you actually start to question some of the things you're seeing. Now, something I didn't mention when I was going over the last thing, but I should have, is that there's different stances you can take to reconsolidate. Remember, you have two sides to these reconsolidations. You have the side that wants to change, and we call that the symptom, the pro-symptom position in coherence therapy. And then we have the side, anti-symptom position in coherence therapy. Then we have the side that doesn't want to change. We call that the or the pro-symptom position in coherence therapy. And so you can work with either of these sides when you're doing memory consolidation, and you can also work with them in different ways. You can reject one of the sides, which is implicitly sort of arguing for the other side, although not necessarily. It could be a totally different side. You could accept one of the sides. You could say, oh, what would it be like to just say, yeah, I'm okay with this? And you can even embrace one of the sides. What would it be like to show love, gratitude, excitement for this position instead of looking at it with trepidation? And all of these can lead to reconsolidation because you're reconsolidating one side or the other. So let's go on to questioning. Okay, so now I'm questioning my beliefs. So if it's a logical belief, like if I'm going to be late, then I will be unloved, or if I don't plan, then I'll be rejected. We can start with something called the work of Byron Katie. So the work of Byron Katie is first a series of 4 questions. Question number 1, is that true? Is it true that if I don't plan, then I'll be rejected? Now, I'm not going for the yes answer here. I'm just seeing what comes up for me. I'm seeing my beliefs. I'm seeing what's happening. Is that true? Can I be absolutely sure that's true? Again, not going for a yes here, just seeing what comes up. Seeing what happens for me, exploring this question. How do I react when I believe that's true? What comes up for me? Question number 3. And 4, who would I be without this belief? Not going for, I'm a better person. Maybe I'd be a worse person. Maybe I'd be a different person. Maybe it depends on what belief would come up in its stead. Just exploring that question. Now that's a rejection frame. I could also do an acceptance frame. Am I sure that's false? Am I sure I should get rid of this? Can I be absolutely sure that this is false or that I should get rid of this? How do I react when I imagine getting rid of this? Who would I be if I accepted or embraced this belief? Okay, that's the work, accept, reject, embrace. I can also go to memories. Now I can use something called the let-go belief process to question these memories. So the first question is, what does this memory mean to me in this context? What does it mean to me? Well, this memory means that I'll be rejected. Okay, what else could this memory mean? If I look over it again, it could also mean that, that that person was having a bad day. There's many other meanings. Okay, how does it feel to view these memories with those meanings? How does it feel to view these memories with those meanings? Now I'm viewing the memory again, but actively holding these other meanings as stances as I'm viewing this memory. And now I'm getting some shifts here. Okay, now I'm getting some shifts here. And finally, does it still feel like that's what the memory means, or it's only one interpretation? Does it still feel like that's what the memory means, or only one interpretation? Now this is all a rejection frame. Push the memory or remain. Could it mean something else? Could it mean something else? You could do the same thing and say, okay, what does this memory mean to me? What is it like to view this memory, to fully accept that meaning of the memory? And then finally, does it still feel like I have to push this memory away? Or can I fully accept this meaning? You can do this with an acceptance or embrace frame. We can also do this, we can also question our bodily sensations. Again, this tension in my shoulder. This is called the Sedona Method. Can I let this go? again, feeling into that question, not just stating it or asking it, but feeling into it. Second, will I let this go? Third, when will I let this go? Not looking for yes and now, just seeing what comes up. Really feeling into that question. Now, the Sedona Method can also be done with acceptance and embrace. Can I accept this feeling? Will I accept this feeling? When will I accept this feeling? Can I embrace this feeling? Will I embrace this feeling? When will I embrace this feeling? I can even do this with metaphors. Okay, does this metaphor accurately represent? What is this metaphor trying to say? Are there other metaphors that can more accurately depict this situation? What would it be like to view this situation or this belief through those metaphors? Does it still feel like this is the right metaphor or just one interpretation? Again, you can do this with acceptance, rejection, embracing, all ways to look at your metaphor. After you're going through the questioning, you might want to do some dialoguing. You might want to do some switching between your two sides or multiple sides of looking at the things. And just sort of go back and forth, see what resonates, what doesn't resonate with these things. So if you're doing logical beliefs, I recommend looking up something from CFAR called, what's it called? It's called internal double crux. Internal double crux is a way to sort of dialogue between two beliefs and have them have a conversation, a logical conversation about what's true and what's not. Now, if you're working with memories, there's a coherence therapy has an excellent way where you just switch between two different memories that match the two different sides. You just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you can start to see, oh, this memory has some elements of truth, and this memory has some elements of truth, and there's some nuance here. And we can create an ultimate belief that combines aspects from both these memories. Again, you could do with a metaphor, right? If you have two different metaphors, you could say, okay, what does it look like to bring these metaphors together, to switch them together? There's an NLP process called parts integration, which is about taking two metaphors and trying to smash them together and seeing what comes out of that. So all of these are ways to dialogue, to take two different sides, go back and forth. Okay, once you've done dialogue, if you're still not getting anything, you can move on to directly questioning. So to directly challenging and saying, here are some other meanings. How do you react when I tell you this? How do you react when I tell you this? You're directly questioning, challenging the thing you're dealing with here. Okay. So there's levels and levels to this process. Now, the meta thing you want to be aware of here when you're going through memory consolidation is this idea of resistance. So the way the Sedona Method does this, explains this. So let's say I have this knife here, and I want to let go of the knife, okay? And I choose to let go of the knife, and that's easy. We know how to let go of things. Now, let's say I'm holding on to this knife, and then I'm holding on to the fist that is holding on to this knife. And then without letting go of that fist, I want to let go of the knife. Can't really do it. So the idea here is that sometimes if you're having trouble letting go through this memory consolidation, it's because there's another hand holding on to the thing you're trying to let go of. So you need to ask the meta question of, what's blocking me here? What would be bad about letting go of this? What part is in control here? Why, what's blocking me? What's stopping me? creating resistance. So that's memory reconsolidation. Play around with it. Play around with these tools I shared. Long video. I just felt like making it, so I made it. And see you guys later.